Hello, and thank you for joining us for Stop Grammar Time. Today we will be discussing how to improve your grammar in order to help on all of your multimodal communication projects. Obviously, we will not be able to cover every grammar topic today, but we will go over some of the most common errors and leave you with some resources for your future projects. First, I would like to point you to some of the resources that you have right here on UK's campus. We have 3 programs within our department, Transformative Learning, that are helpful resources throughout your time here at UK. First, the study focuses on tutoring specific subjects in math, science, and business. Our tutors have taken the class here at UK and gotten an A or a B, so they are very familiar with the subject. For more information on the specific classes and when tutoring is available, check out our website. Presentation U is another very helpful tutoring service on campus. They specialize in tutoring multimodal communication, such as oral, written, and communication projects. No matter where you are in the process, from brainstorming to a finished project, our tutors will be able to help you on your project. If you cannot make it to campus, there are even virtual appointments that are available to be scheduled. For more information, check out the website. Lastly, academic coaching is another great service. Our coaches have been trained to help students practice skills such as time management, exam preparation, note-taking, critical reading strategies, motivation, and much, much more. They can help you design a plan to help you reach your goals for the semester. Again, for more information, please visit the website. Now that you know some of the resources that are available to you on campus, let's dive into some grammar. Today we will be talking about the importance of grammar. Even if you do not like grammar, it is important in things that you do daily. After that, we will talk about a few of the common grammar errors that we see regularly in our tutoring centers. Students often have difficulties with comma splices, improper tense shifts, and quotation errors. After we go over these common errors, we will test your knowledge with a short activity. We will end by talking about how Presentation U can help in the future. Before we get started with all the technicalities of grammar, let's start with a short clip from The Office about grammar. I'm a huge fan of The Office, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for a new show to watch on Netflix.
You actually get this presentation ready.
Why don't you do the presentation?
Because
I don't want. You know how to do
what
it.
I really want, honestly, Michael, is for you to know it so that you can communicate it to the people here, to your clients, to whomever.
Okay.
What?
It's whoever, not whomever.
It's whomever.
No, whomever is never actually right.
Well, sometimes it's right.
I know what's right, but I'm not going to say, because you're all jerks who didn't come see my band last night.
Do you really know which one is correct?
I don't know.
It's whom when it's the object of the sentence and who when it's the subject.
That sounds right.
Well, it sounds right, but is it?
How did Ryan use it as an object?
As an object.
Ryan used me as an object.
Michael is right. It's a made-up word used to trick students.
No, actually, whomever is the formal version of the word.
Obviously, it's a real word, but I don't know when to use it correctly.
Not a native speaker.
Is he right about that?
How did he use it
It
again?
was, Ryan wanted Michael, the subject, to explain the computer system, the object,
Thank you.
to whomever, meaning us, the indirect object, which is the correct usage of the word.
No one asked you anything ever, so whomever's name is Toby, why don't you take a letter opener and stick it in your skull?
Hey, this doesn't matter, and I don't even care.
Why is grammar important? First, grammar is important in your classes for assignments for both credibility and to ensure that it is understandable. Your grammar can easily prevent your audience from taking you seriously. If you are not careful, it can also cause you to convey a different message or idea than what you intended. Also, in order to get a job and then be effective at it, you must be able to communicate well. If your resume has grammatical errors, you are much less likely to be considered for a job. Once you get a job, if you are not able to communicate effectively with your clients, peers, and employer, this may inhibit your production at work. In speeches, grammar is very important in order to establish credibility and convey the ideas that you want to. Speeches often rely solely on your words, so the audience does not have anything else to help interpret what you are trying to say. Also, grammar is important in daily conversation and social media. Grammar directly affects how people interpret what you are trying to say. Here are a few examples of how grammar can skew the meaning of what someone is trying to say. Now, let's talk about a few of the common grammatical errors that we see and prepare for the activity at the end. Comma splices are very common and may be overlooked if you are not careful. According to Purdue OWL, comma splices are similar to run-on sentences. A comma splice occurs when two independent clauses are connected with only a comma. Before we move on, I wanted to mention that Purdue OWL is another great resource when it comes to grammar. So back to comma splices. First, in order to understand comma splices, you must understand independent versus dependent clauses. In short, an independent clause is a phrase that can stand alone as a sentence, and a dependent clause is a phrase that cannot be a sentence by itself. If you have two independent clauses that are connected with only a comma, then you have a comma splice. Let's take a look at this example. My family bakes together nearly every night. We then get to enjoy everything we make together. Hopefully you see that the section before the comma and after the comma could each be a sentence by themselves, but they are separated with only a comma. Take a few seconds to brainstorm some ways you could fix this sentence. There are multiple ways that you could have fixed this sentence. First, you could simply replace the comma with a period and make it two different sentences. Second, you could have replaced the comma with a semicolon to signify that they are independent clauses, making the sentence grammatically correct. The third option was to add a conjunction after the comma. The second phrase after the comma is no longer independent when you add the conjunction, so a comma is grammatically correct. The last option was to add a subordinate clause. The subordinate clause goes at the beginning of the sentence and makes the first phrase no longer independent, so a comma is grammatically correct. No solution is better than another, but you should know each of them so you can add variety into your writing or speech. Improper tense shift is another common error that is easily overlooked. This occurs when you incorrectly change tense in a sentence. A general guideline from Purdue OWL to avoid this error is to not shift from one tense to another if the time frame for each action or state is the same. There are multiple ways that this error can occur, but let's take a look at a few examples. The instructor explains the diagram to students who asked questions during the lecture. Explains is present tense, referring to a current state. Asked is past, but should be present, ask, because the students are currently continuing to ask questions during the lecture period. About noon, the sky darkened, a breeze sprang up, and a low rumble announces the approaching storm. Darkened and sprang up are past tense verbs. Announces is present, but should be past. Announced, to maintain consistency within the time frame. Quotation errors occur when quotation marks are placed incorrectly within a sentence. Again, this is an error that is easily overlooked. Here are a few tips in order to put the quotations in the correct spots. First, if the quote is in the middle of a sentence, make sure you put a comma before the quotation. Second, put a question mark inside of the quotation mark if the quote is a question. If the entire sentence is a question, put the question mark outside of the quotation marks. Third, if the quote is a sentence, make sure that you capitalize the first letter like a normal sentence. Lastly, put punctuation inside of the quotation marks unless it is the situation we discussed with the question mark or if you are citing. A helpful hint in remembering this is the P period comes before Q quotation in the alphabet. This is generally true except for a few scenarios that we've already discussed. Let's practice. Find a scrap piece of paper and a pen. I will be going through a series of questions based on the topics that we just went over. Always remember that self-assessment is a critical step of the learning process to evaluate what you do and do not know. Self-assess so you can go back and focus on what you do not know as well. Let's begin. What is the error in this sentence? The correct answer is improper tense shift. In the second sentence, the beginning is present tense and the end is past tense. You could correct the sentence by changing gives to gave. Next question. What is the error in this sentence? The correct answer is comma splice. There are two independent clauses separated by a comma. You can use the methods we discussed earlier to correct this error. Take a few seconds and write out some of the corrections. Next question. The correct answer is B. The question mark should go inside of the quotation mark because the quote is a question. Let's try another one. What is the error in this sentence? Again, this is a comma splice. Try to correct the sentence using some of the methods that we discussed earlier. Last question. What is the error in this sentence? We did not talk about this error specifically, but it is another very common error. The correct answer is missing comma. There should be a comma after graduate because it is an introductory clause. I hope that this short quiz helped to evaluate your progress. Continue to self-evaluate and use your resources on campus to continue to improve your grammar. Most of the errors that we talked about can be easily avoided once you have a general idea of them by simply proofreading. Make sure that you use spell and grammar check to catch the simple mistakes. Be aware that using these tools does not replace the need to do proofreading. After using these tools, proofread twice on screen. During the first proofread, check content, organization, and style. On the second proofread, check for mechanical errors. Splitting the proofread into two categories allows you to concentrate on similar things so your brain does not have to switch back and forth. This allows for a much more effective proofreading method. After proofreading on screen, proofread in print preview mode for format and layout errors. This is very important, especially if you are supposed to complete an assignment in a particular format. Do not skip this step. After checking the format, print a draft copy and proofread on paper. This may seem like a lot of proofreading, but this is the best way to catch grammatical errors and improve on grammar overall. No matter what step in the process you are at, Presentation U can help. Whether you are in the brainstorming or polishing stage, one of our tutors will be able to work with you. If you're having grammatical issues, one of our tutors can go through your paper generally and help identify some issues that you may be having. While they will not read line by line and make changes for you, they will identify issues you should look for and improve on. Ultimately, at Presentation U, we want you to learn what you need to improve on so you can implement your learning on future projects. We hope that you were reminded of the importance of grammar and learned how to avoid some of the most common grammar mistakes. Thank you for watching Stop Grammar Time, and remember that Presentation U is here to help with your grammar needs.